open session, and it's September 27th, open session. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second. Oh, actually, that's halfway through. I shouldn't.
For the 26th.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rosemary's motioning, Phil, you second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and that was for both sessions? Okay, communications and announcements. First is a recognition for Christy Hale for the Peter Gomes Citizenship Award, but I don't believe Christy could be here tonight, so I am going to table this to our next meeting, so apologize for that. It's a recognition for Christy. She was a finalist in the a Citizenship Award, but we'll get into it more in the next meeting. Next on the agenda is a Greater Lawrence Technical School upgrade to athletic fields. Superintendent John Lavoie. Mr. Lavoie?
Good evening, everybody. And thank you for allowing me a few minutes to go over our field projects and the reason that I wanted to present this to you this evening. As you probably already know, that was in the agreement last week that we're looking to upgrade our athletic fields, and the project is somewhere between 4.8, that's between $5 million and $6 million, and we're looking to go for a bond for $5 million. But the bond is at no cost. We're not looking for our cities and towns to assess them for any part of that bond for any of our communities, and I'm going to explain quickly how we're looking to fund this particular project tonight. And one of the reasons that I wanted to present to you this evening is that at our next school committee meeting, our school committee will be voting on whether to go for the bond or not. And once, if they vote in favor of moving forward for the bond, a letter would be going to all our cities and towns, our 4 districts, informing them that that vote was taken, and then the cities and towns would have 30 days to respond either yes or no to us going for that bond. So I wanted to give you a chance to look at what it is we're actually doing, where we're looking to, how we're looking to fund it, and then any questions that you may have. So this is a kind of a PowerPoint. If you look at the first page in, this is a 3-phase project. It's going to be done in 3 separate phases. The first phase, which we're looking to do hopefully this spring or at the latest next fall, is as you look at the setup of the plan view of this particular project, to your upper left, you'll see that there's a dark track with the football, which is our present football field with the track around it, and where we have our stands now. That field is the first phase of the project, and that will be putting in a new track and putting in a turf football field with lighting. Right now we do not have lighting, and that phase of the project is about $2.5 million. Phase 2 is to the right of that, is phase 2, which is also a turf field, which will be a varsity baseball field and a varsity softball field, as well as 3 youth soccer fields going perpendicular to those fields, and can also be used as a varsity soccer field going the long way, depending on the season. Originally, we were looking at that being also a football field. That's why you see all those lines, but we've reconsidered it, and so it no longer will be part of our football field. Right now, that's a practice field that we use for football and baseball. So that'll be upgraded with that turf field, and that will also have lighting, and that's about a $2.5 million project as well. And then that phase we're looking to do either in the fall or the following spring, depending on how the funding campaign goes. And then phase 3 is our lower fields, which is natural turf now and will remain natural turf. We'll just be upgrading that field by putting, redoing the grade, improving the drainage, reseeding the field, and putting irrigation. That will eventually be another varsity baseball and softball field, as well as 4 soccer fields within that space. for future use. So those are the three different phases. If you look at the next page, you'll see how we're looking to fund each phase. Phase one, we're selling our energy credit reimbursement. We have a solar farm that we own the rights to the energy. That farm is overproducing more than we anticipated, so we've sold about $500,000 in credits already. We're negotiating selling another $400,000 in credits right now. We'll utilize that money from that solar farm, which is out in North Brookfield. So we expect to utilize that fund somewhere between $800,000 to $1 million put towards the field project. And the other piece of it is we're doing an energy conservation project at the school, which is considering redoing some of redoing our lighting to go to LED lighting, and doing our new front end project in terms of the way we manage our energy within the building. And over a 10 to 15 year time period, that will save us anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million. And then the last part of that, phase one, is a state allocation, which we are looking for the state to fund about $500,000. It will go in this year's budget. Went in last year's budget but did not pass, but we feel like, given conversations we had with our state representatives, they feel confident that it'll go through this coming fiscal budget season. So that's another $500,000. So the expected cost for phase one is about $2.5 million. The next phase, phase two, what we're looking at doing is leasing the field, which would bring in about $1 million over 10 to 15 years. These numbers come from our architect, field architect, who has worked with many communities on their fields, and what that leasing value would be over a period of 10 to 15 years, given all the field space that we have to lease. And then we're also doing a campaign drive where we're trying to raise between $1 and $2 million. We've started, we've put our committees together. We'll be kicking off that campaign in the next couple of months once we've solidified all of our marketing and identified the companies that we'll be meeting with and talking to in order to help support that campaign drive. And so that's about $2.5 million. That would cover phase two. And the last phase, phase three, is about $1 million, and that will, we have not set a time frame on that, but that would be completed at a later date once we've solidified the funding for that particular part of the project. None of these projects will begin until we have the funding in place to ensure that we do not have to assess our cities and towns for these particular field projects. We are looking to go for a bond, that the bond, we would draw from that bond as needed and as we have the funds to support the payback of that bond. And so we'll be looking at a 10 to 15 year bond that the school would be going for, but no cost to our cities and towns. But for us to secure a bond, we still need the cities and towns' approval to do that. Because we're a regional school district with both cities and towns, we, by state regulation, state law, we are not capable of going for a bond ourselves. So what we've done is we've negotiated with Andover, who is allowing us to use their bonding power to go out for this bond. So this is a method that's been approved for us to go through this process. And that's pretty much the project, kind of short version of everything. But I did want you to know, before you get this letter, what it is we're really doing and how we're funding it, and give you the opportunity, if you have any questions or concerns, to I would be open to answering as best I can. Combination of both. So our present football field has natural turf, and it has a track now that's not in very good shape. So we're going to take off the top layer of that track, resurface it, And then we also have to put a concrete curb in order to take the turf field, synthetic turf field. So we'll be removing the sod and the natural turf and then replacing it with a turf field, and then putting all lighting around, which we do not have lighting at this time. The school will be doing some of the projects, so we'll be doing a lot of the electrical work for the lighting. We also, the students will be, yeah. And we need to put in a new facilities for bathrooms. So we'll be putting in about 15 units for women and about 15 units for males. And that structure will be done by the students as well, which will go between the two new fields. Right now we only have capacity for actually two facilities, where we have one in the men's room and one in the ladies' room. So this will allow for better use when the fields are in use in terms of. Right now, for fields, well, right now we have the football field, which has natural turf, and then we have adjacent to that a field that's a practice field, which is really in not very good condition. It's really, we try to use it only for practice, not for games. We don't use it for games for football. We do some of the youth programs in Andover, soccer youth programs use it for practicing on that field as well. And in the spring, we use it for practicing baseball as well. But the conditions of those fields are not at a quality that would allow for games of our varsity. So those are really not practical for use. Then we have a lower field where we utilize for our varsity baseball right now and our varsity softball, and we use that for our varsity soccer as well, both for males and females. And that space also is utilized for both for baseball, youth baseball, different organizations rent the space, as well as Andover Soccer utilizes the space for some of its programs in Andover as well. So even that field is not in very good shape.
I'm impressed by your creative way of planning and sensitivity to the cities and towns and taxpayers. And I really like the fact that the students, everyone pulling together to make this happen, including my students. Really, really great ownership. So I would want approval because I need no votes at all.
No.
I would approval of this recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick question. What is the timeframe on this? When is it?
We're hoping to do phase one this spring, but it all depends on the timing of going for the bonding. And then once we secure a bond, then we can put it out to bid. And so that process, depending on when we can get it out to bid, will determine if we can start in the spring. If not, we'll start in the fall. And ensuring that we have all our funds in place. We're still negotiating a final sale on some of our credits, so we need to finish that first. So we have no intention of starting any phase until we've secured all the funding and it's in place to ensure that we're not going to have to seek any funds from our cities and towns. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Oh, sounds
Get the students to build some boat practice. Talk about that.
We'd be happy to help in any way we can.
That would be great.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next on the agenda is curbside pickup. Like we have leaf pickup starting in the week of October 31st, November 14th, and November 28th. We leave the bag. You can leave only in paper bags. A truck will be on your street once a week, any day, not necessarily on trash day. So get them out early. And so just leave your bags, leaves only. Put them on the curbside, rain or shine, leave them out, and they will be picked up. And the CSN will be open regular hours every day except Sunday, the week of December 5th. Call the BTW question.
So this is pretty consistent with what we've recommended in the past. I think a few days early, possibly a couple days early on the first pickup. But the belief is that the driver's cars will fall sooner than later. Rather than have folks bundle them up
this information is available on our website and probably on GovCAM as well. Are there any plans for an extended day for the Sears Center? Normally, we will pick some Fridays to assist the local landscapers in dropping off.
Yeah, I'll talk to the DPW director about it. The plan for the Sears Center is we will have in the past, typically, beyond the traditional hours,
Okay.
depending upon what the volume is.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, election update. Actually, I skipped one. Let's talk about the town hall move first.
Passed around a press release that the town manager's office will be issuing tomorrow, so it's just easier to just read this and then answer any questions. The newly renovated and expanded North Andover Town Hall at 120 Main Street will be open for all town business on Monday, October 24, 2016 at 8 o'clock a.m. All town offices, including all community development departments, building, conservation, health, planning, and zoning board of appeals, will be in one location at Town Hall. In preparation, on Thursday, October 20th, in anticipation of the move, Town Hall and Community Development offices located at 1600 Osgood Street will operate on a limited basis. And that will mean that community development project files, both for active and past projects, will not be available. On Friday, October 21st, Town Hall offices, with the exception of the Assessor's office at 120 Main Street, will be closed. Community Development offices at 1600 Osgood Street, again, will operate on a limited basis, meaning that their project files, active and past, will not be available.
Ray, let me just say, this date was picked last year before the project even started, October. Right? And congratulations on making.
We're not there yet, but yes,
But
thank you.
Well, you just made a press announcement, so we gotta do that, right? But congratulations. I mean,
A lot can happen in 12 days.
Yeah, but this is phenomenal that you, and it was a really complicated project, and it was done on time, on budget, and
Thank you.
congratulations to all.
Thank you.
Again.
Yeah.
Again.
On time, on budget, under budget, again.
Don't trust me, it's not.
Thank you, Ray.
I would say to folks that it's all good news. If you've ever moved, that experience or feeling from moving, if you could hearken on that, if you come into town hall and something isn't quite right, certainly those departments like the clerk's office will be focused on because very important issue. But it is a move, right? And it's a pretty substantial construction project. So there'll be some things that aren't quite in order. If you could be just a couple more weeks to neaten those things up, we would appreciate it. But it's going to be
And jumping ahead to your last item on your agenda, the November 1st meeting will be back at Town Hall. We think. We hope.
I just asked. He goes,
Oh.
well,
I
Well,
want to make sure to flip the equipment, it all works.
We'll be back.
But yes, that's the plan.
I trust you.
If not, it's okay to
they've been great hosts for the last 9 months here.
They certainly have been.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, Joyce, we're gonna have an election update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I too cannot express my gratitude to being back at Town Hall on the 24th of October. We are, as I left the office, we are at 19,725 voters in North Andover. So as you can imagine, the service demands, and they keep rolling in all the time. So we're very excited about that, and I can't thank my staff enough. They have been getting absentee ballots out. We're almost at 2,000 this early. So, but I'm here to provide you with the first day back at Town Hall, and we have a flyer that's going out on the website, also press releases about all the early voting times. So we'll be doing early voting through regular business hours starting the 24th of October, ending the 4th of November. Those are state mandated times. We also will be opening the new town hall the 29th of October from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for early voting. So
That's a Saturday, absolutely. So it gives people a wonderful opportunity to come down, see the new town hall. Early voting is a much easier process. If you come in person, you just mark your ballot, which is kind of long because you have ballot questions on them. You mark your ballot and you just put it in the envelope and sign the envelope, as opposed to having to do an application as you do for absentee voting. So we're excited about that. We're also going to be open till 8 o'clock on the 2 Tuesday evenings. Normally are open till 6, so we're going to stay open till 8 to be able to accommodate people after work. And the Saturday is the big push. We'll have signboards out. We'll be doing a robocall telling people we're going to be there. We also, the police department's already working on making certain that if there's traffic issues, we can try to resolve that and have people park at the back of the building. But as I said, I cannot speak. I mean, we're looking at, 25,000 ballots coming and things like that. So being back at the town hall, and I know how much effort went into that by the town manager and especially Ray too. Right now, without that, we would be. It's not that it hasn't been a very good location, but it's a challenging location. So that I will be there on the 19th of October for the last day to register to vote. People have received these red booklets in the mail. They're very well done by the Secretary of State's office. People should feel free to write whatever they want on here as far as how they're going to vote on the ballot questions or candidates. You can bring these to the polls. We have extras at Town Hall. They also are available online that we've been sending to our overseas and military voters, which has been very actively done. I get maybe 5 or 10 emails a day from people who either overseas or military people, and the Federal Voting Assistance Program has done a phenomenal job trying to make sure that all our military personnel and families and citizens residing abroad are well taken care of. It's an email ballot that we send out to people. So we just had one come in from Turkey as I left, and before you would be spending not an outrageous amount of money, but people would not have the time to get the ballots and return them. And also we have absentee ballots. The absentee ballots are available right in the office now. So if somebody is not able to get to the polls, they can come in and actually vote absentee now. We cannot send anything out for early voting ballots till the 24th, even though the ballots arrived today. So, and the basic difference between absentee voting, you can apply for a family member, and it pertains to the fact that you might not be able to get to the polls on election day. You'll be out of town. You have a disability or for religious beliefs. Where with early voting, absolutely no reason, no excuse, and we believe that's going to be a very easy process. We've also the preparation for that. We do not know what to expect for the number of people that are going to vote early, but we are prepared. We have plenty of ballots, and we will be doing on election day central tabulation at the polls. So we'll have a sign, we'll have a spare machine, and that's how we will process however many hundreds or thousands of early voted ballots that we have, rather than trying to, I hate to say, clog the polls or impede voters coming in person in any way. So, we've decided to do that. So the technology seems very good for that. So we're very confident about it. We will be testing our machines, and even though we've had these AccuVote machines since 1995, we still have tremendous confidence in them. They've been very reliable. We have a spare machine, and we also have spare memory cards that we test and can use on election day. So opening the polls at 6 a.m., we will be ready to take on the challenge of having voters come in. And that's proved in the past. We had as many as 1,500 people come between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. The commuting public appreciates that. I can't thank my election workers enough. That is the middle of the night. And or DPW having at 4:30 in the morning to bring the ballots up to the polls. This is a very important election, and every single box of ballots and it has to be examined, looked at, and so, as I said, now with almost 20,000 voters, it's quite an experience. The online registration, we get anywhere between 20 and 30 a day of people utilizing the online voter registration. It is absolutely, it's right on our website. It has a link to that. You can check and see if you're registered to vote, and it shows you whether you're active, inactive, gives you all the instructions. But the online voter registration has proved very successful. Secretary Galvin's on TV, does a great job showing people how easy it is. And as I said, that's the easiest thing for us as well. And being open for the last day for voter registration, it's not unusual to have people call and say, I might be a little late getting down or whatever, and we can actually walk them through the process of just going online, putting their information in. It comes directly through to me, and I'll usually take their phone number and say, if there's any difficulties getting it through, I'll call you right back. But it saves people from having to try babysitters, but it also is empowering the voter to try to take responsibility for each one of their actions, because, as I said, there's almost 20,000 of them, and there's only 4 of us. So it's proved very effective and very easy, and that's a big improvement. We never had that before, so that's working quite well. Oh no, it's never too late. Right. Well, no, it's never too late to do that. We can sort of help you if you've moved within North Andover. We can't do anything for you if you've moved here from another city or town and haven't re-registered, but that's a very good point. Or if people aren't sure or they can't figure out the technology, we're an email away or a phone call away. Will you check and see if I'm registered to vote? I mean, the advantage we have voting all at one location directs people right to the high school. So it's, but it's very important anytime anybody moves to just let us know. And it doesn't even have to be, you can either do it online, but you can even send an email, the family moved and can you change my voting address? And that's very easy for us to do. It's an email has made a huge difference. Well, we've had as many as 800 or 900 people with registration issues that, people didn't know they had to register to vote or they didn't change address. We are not like New Hampshire that has same-day voter registration that you could remedy the situation. So, and we're a phone call away too. Anybody that needs an absentee ballot for a family member or for themselves, the early voting ballots you do have to apply only for yourself, and theoretically it has to be returned by yourself. So if somebody needs it for a family member, then they can do absentee ballots. Everything will be counted on November 8th. So whatever time the last ballot is gone through the machine, is every single ballot counts and every single vote will be processed on the 8th, or hopefully not into the 9th. That's an excellent point. It's a full curriculum day. There is no school at all. And also the state elections office has requested that absolutely, positively, no activities be held at any of the polling locations. So we'll be sending that to the superintendent, who's been extremely helpful of making sure that we have total access for the election day, because we don't know what to anticipate, but
phenomenal job as usual. Thanks for all that valuable information, and again, check out the website. There's plenty more.
It's all there, or email, phone call, where it just takes us 2 seconds to help anybody ahead of time. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, any other communications or announcements from anybody on the board? Phil? Tracy, any other communications, announcements?
I believe so, no?
No? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to consent items. First under consent is the vote to sign the warrant for the state election.
Move that the Board of Selectmen sign the warrant for the state election to be held on Tuesday, November 8th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll sign that after the meeting. Next under consent, request of James Doucette of Cambridge Sports Union to use streets in North Andover for a roller ski race on Sunday, November 6th, 2016, from 9:30 to 11 a.m. Is Mr. Doucette here tonight? Would you like to come up and tell us about your event?
Hi, I'm James Doucette from Andover, actually.
I do.
I've had the roller ski race for 27 years, this would be. On the same streets. Starts on Milk Street, turns right, goes up Johnson, all the way down to, I forget what that street is, it goes up over to 114. Ray Street, thank you. Takes the sharp right-hand turn at the top of the hill and comes back towards to Milk Street. We do 2 laps. And I usually have, 25 to 30 skiers. Anything else?
Is there, you want to plug it? Is there a registration site or something like that you want to?
I put out information on our New England Nordic Ski Association website and our Cambridge Sports Union website.
All right, great. Looks like we've got all positive responses from police and fire and DPW. So, do I have a motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen approve the request of James Doucette to use the streets in North Andover as presented for the Cambridge Sports Union annual roller ski race on Sunday, November 6th from 9:30 to 11 a.m.
Any further discussion on this?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Have fun.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next is our annual setting of the trick or treat day and hours this year. Little more press on this one than we've had in the past. So normally we hear a motion. Do I have a motion?
I move that we hold Halloween celebrations on Halloween, October 31st, from 5:30 to 7:30, and continue to do that into the future. Halloween should be celebrated on Halloween.
So
I'd like to speak to it just a little bit.
we have a motion and a second. More discussion?
Halloween is Halloween, but it's more important than that. I think that there's such confusion now because every town does it at a different time. And I think as for drivers in particular, it's nice to know the communities that they're driving through, whether or not there's trick or treat. And I think if it's all on Halloween, of course, cities and towns can do what they want, but I think it's, it also prevents kids from hopping from town to town. There's other reasons too. If you have it every year on a Saturday night, I think it greatly impacts our restaurants. Saturday night's a big night. And if you're home doing trick-or-treating and taking care of your kids, by the time you can get up and get out, it's probably going to be about 9 o'clock at night. You're not going to go. And, restaurant business can be a tough business. There's ups and downs. It's a risky business, and I think to do that to them every year would not be fair. They should work the calendar just like we do. If it falls on a Saturday that year, then it's a Saturday. If not, a Sunday. I think it needs to be the day that it's scheduled. And Saturdays tend to be the most dangerous night for drivers, historically, through accident statistics and stuff. Granted, the kids won't be out late at night, but I think I've always supported it on Halloween, and I will continue to do so, but I think it's in the best interest of the town and the kids and the families and the businesses. It should be held on October 31st. No, Christmas I really still would like to be on the 25th, whatever day that follows.
Jesus born on the 25th?
All right, well, we're not talking about Christmas.
Trending on
it's too
Twitter
much.
yesterday was Indigenous People Day.
Oh, was it?
Trending on Twitter.
Okay.
So further discussion on Halloween on this item.
I appreciate the work that Mr. Burchell did. This wasn't something I had thought about at all. It wasn't something we considered last year because it fell on Halloween fell on a Saturday in the first place. And frankly, ever since I was a kid, I used to do Haverhill and North Andover because my cousins.
You were one of them.
Listen, my cousins grew up 2 streets over from Bradford College, and I used to do that. And right now as a father of a 5-year-old and having a niece that's 5 in Haverhill, whenever they weren't synced up, we jump back and forth between the two. And I think, I've had kids, high school kids from other communities come to my house, so I think that happens. That's not really something that made me nervous. But what I love seeing in Haverhill that doesn't always happen when it falls on a weekday is that you see families being able to go out and do it together, neighborhoods able to go out and do it together, and there's just a noticeable difference in how the neighborhoods and community interacts with each other. It's funny, Mr. Burchell, I don't even know if he's here. So he came to our last meeting and he had said he had circulated a petition. I thought that's funny because I've never heard anybody one way or another talk about it. Apparently Tracy's talked about it in past years. I didn't know. Tracy, you're a good friend of mine. I had no idea this was your issue. And so after he said that, I went on this group called North Andover Moms. We'll do a shout out to that page. And we got over 300 responses, and almost to the number, it was evenly split between, if you counted unique comments, some people were a little bit more. They love to hear themselves, I think, every 10 posts. But if you counted them only once, I think at one point it was 80 for keeping it on Halloween, 82 for moving, which was negligible. But it was really interesting to hear the response back. It was even more interesting and in fact, Tracy and I at the Fall Festival, we got to experience this in person. People from Haverhill weighing in on the debate saying, we love it, you should think about it. Which I thought was, funny. It was a nice thing, but then to even be at the Fall Festival and have some Haverhill folks who know us come up to us and say, it's great, we love it. And so I thought the intentions were great. I think that, Mr. Burchell's whole push was this is a way to get neighborhoods together more. And so I think it was a good conversation to have. I think it's thrown that group into chaos a little bit because they want to know when it's going to be. So I would encourage us that if we do consider this every year, that we not hold this vote in October, that we do it in advance. Because anyone who's been following that group, I think we've created quite a bit of chaos with even bringing to the forefront that we discuss this. Trust me, Dick. 100.
Every day, and why haven't we made the decision? So I agree with Phil that we probably should push this up into September next year. But right, yeah, because town hall is overloaded with the phone calls too. But that's scheduling. I've spent a few years in Haverhill myself, and so ever since I've sat on this board, I've been like, let's move it to Saturday, only because I saw exactly what Phil just expressed, the opportunity for neighborhoods and communities the community to come together a little bit more, and and the ease for parents, in truth. What I've seen over the last month or whenever this debate has been going on is a pretty even split, in truth. It's what I've seen and what I've heard is exactly what I think Phil's seen and heard, is that it's a pretty even split.
I will say this, the people that are mad at me are my friends' parents who are my age, the people that have, and this isn't universal, but there have been a lot of encouraging words from peers, who I'm in line with, picking up my daughter during the day or, walking home with. And so that's been an interesting
I think I've
split.
noticed that too. It's definitely split amongst generations and age groups. For me, my son's in 8th grade. That whole fun dress-up deal is over. So I'm not so much married to any of it anymore.
It actually, and it's worth pointing out, actually, we did receive an email from a former school committee member today reminding us that 1/3 of the entire 8th grade is actually not present. And so this is apparently quite the topic at the middle school, where because of Nature's Classroom, which I guess is a program.
Not present on the 31st.
But they're out of town. They're in
Yeah, so on the
Austin.
31st, they're not here. So that doesn't really fit to the point of permanently changing it. But at least in the middle school, this is something.
Ooh,
not
the
that,
middle school is hopping.
because they're not going to be here on Monday night.
Interesting planning on their part. Probably days that they couldn't avoid, but it's unfortunate.
I know, that's what I said. I'm like, that's something, but
So, I'm not on the North Andover Mom's website all that much, but I do know the North Andover Merchants website, where it was heavily slanted towards keeping it on the 31st, and I think a lot of that is because I've learned that day, the 31st, is
Yeah.
also a huge day for
Takeout.
restaurants for takeout.
that's
so-
because parents are rushing and they have no time to make dinner, so
Yeah.
of course they're taking
So, okay, so any further discussion on this?
The only thing I can say, I did not find it to be 50-50, and I had people of all
We
generations.
counted it, it's 50-50.
No, I'm just saying, I didn't find that.
Oh, the people that you spoke to?
Or they spoke to me, and
I wonder how was the generational gap?
actually, it was all different ages.
Because I saw a distinct split, kind of. No, I did. For me, those days are over, I can kill it.
There's that split, but that's.
Yeah, exactly, that too, so.
Okay.
But
All those, all right, so let's remind everyone of the motion. The motion is to have the trick-or-treating hours on October 31st from 5:30 to 7:30. That motion was made by Rosemary, it was seconded by Dawn. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
no,
All right, well, that's 3-2, so.
I always vote against it.
3-2, so
You do.
Halloween
Why
is,
break?
well, trick-or-treat hours
Not
will be
breaking
on
with tradition.
October 31st from 5:30 to 7:30. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have affordable housing resale for 4 Harvest Drive, Unit 119. It's a right of first refusal for the town to purchase it. As a matter of course, the town normally declines that right of first refusal, and then the house goes back to the affordable housing stock for sale.
Anything crazy that we want to do with this, the housing? No?
Move that the Board of Selectmen decline the right of first refusal to purchase the affordable housing unit at 4 Harvest Drive, Unit 119, Oak Ridge Village, Maplewood Reserve.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is a request from the Patriotic Observance Committee to conduct the Veterans Day Parade and Ceremony on Friday, November 11, 2016, starting at 10 a.m. Do we have anybody from the committee here to speak to this tonight?
Well, I am on the committee.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it until
Well,
somebody
you're
told me I
speaking
was.
to it, then.
It's pretty much the same that it has been in years past, and I'd like to thank in particular Lori. It was a little bit of confusion because there's been some changes on the committee who helped draft this and make sure that it gets done. She did a great job. But it's similar to what we have. It will September 11th and November 11th, and I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Hopefully that everybody can make it. The committee's working hard. We've got some good guest speakers as always. So
Okay.
That was the committee that Ted Tripp previously served on.
he served on and resigned, and then we now have Lieutenant Dan Lannon, who is a veteran. He's on the committee, and there was some staffing changes. We have a new person who's working with our.
And the only reason why I asked is because I thought Ted always did a great job, and I know that will continue to do a great job, but I thought it's worth recognizing that.
He did do a great job.
I always liked, whether it was Joe Guggenberger or Adam Megaletta, I loved that they pulled in a high school student. I love that they recognized that high school student. I just, it was a touch that I really just always enjoyed the program. When he did it, I assume we will continue to enjoy it, but he's not been here to thank him.
Yes, he did do a great job. So we've got some pretty big shoes to fill. And he would actually, to your credit and to Dick's credit, he would say that you would always go out of your way to thank him for the great job that he's done. So he noticed your appreciation. But it's an important day, and if people can come, it's always appreciated by the veterans.
It's outside.
So do we have a motion? We have, in the packet, we have approvals from DPW, police, and fire. Do we have a motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen approve the request of the Patriotic Observance Committee to conduct the Veterans Day Parade and Ceremony as presented on Friday, November 11th, starting at 10 a.m.
Second.
Second, okay. Well, the only other discussion I'll say is that the parade is scheduled to form at 10 a.m. on the corner of First and Main, and it will step off at 10:15 and proceed up Main Street and march on to Patriots Memorial Park, which is right across from the library, for the appropriate services. Upon completion of the ceremony, the parade will reform, proceed up Main Street to the VFW Post 2104 on Park Street, and raise the flag and salute all departed veterans. So, if everyone can make it, it's a great ceremony. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Next on the agenda, 2018 budget policy statements. We're already doing this for 2018.
Yes, 2018, believe it or not, has, the discussion regarding fiscal 2018 has already begun. On September 27th, as the board knows, you held a strategic planning session. We used that opportunity to gather information and use that information to set the broad policies that'll drive the fiscal 2018 budget. Posted on the town's website, as the board knows, is the budget calendar for 2018, so everybody, citizens at home and others, can take a look at what the steps will be getting us to this year, May 16th, which is annual town meeting. And so this is the first step down that road. Budget policy statement is something that is annually adopted by the board to set those overarching goals, those 30,000-foot goals on behalf of the community. And then we use this as a jumping off point to communicate with our departments and the finance committee and others as we begin the budget process. So what you'll find in the package here and linked to the agenda is the fiscal 2018 budget policy document.
Any questions or comments from the board?
That time of year again.
So do I have a motion?
I move approval, move that the Board of Selectmen approve the FY18 budget policy statement as presented.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All those, any further discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into licensing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
We're in
now-
licensing. So we have before us several items on the docket. The first is request from Merrimack College for several licenses. They're looking for a one all-day liquor license for October 21st from 6:30 to 10, a one-day wine and malt license from 4 to 8 p.m. on October 21st, a one-day wine and malt license on the 24th, which is a Monday, from 3 to 8 p.m., and then a one-day wine and malt license on October 28th, which is a Friday, from 5 to 11:30. Is there anybody from Merrimack College here this evening?
Why do they ask that? Oh my God, there is.
Is there? Oh,
There is?
welcome. Usually this is just very,
Really? Yeah.
okay.
My name's Elizabeth Ness. I'm with Corinthian Events in Boston. We're working with Merrimack College on their upcoming event on October 21st, so that's the event we're going to speak to.
Okay.
We have just some additional details on that that we can pass on about the event as a whole. And this is just it's a capital campaign kickoff event for about 350 people with the tent build on a lawn area outside of the Austin Quad. And Alexis here applied for the one-day liquor license that we're seeking approval on. So if you have any questions about the event.
No.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Where on campus will it be? Is probably the more appropriate way to word that question.
Are you sure? Packet.
I have another
Would you like us to talk through the packet of information that we just passed out just for reference or? Great.
And I just want to see which one. So this is for the 21st.
Yeah.
It's applied for
From
6:30 to 10, yeah.
Okay. All alcohol license. So it's actually going to be on the North Andover side on Route 114.
It will
Yeah.
be, yes.
That's why they're here.
Well, no, yeah, touche.
It's divided.
Don't confuse him.
Any questions? Any questions?
Yeah, we could
from-
do that. Why not? Can we get their fees too?
I'm looking at the request from Merrimack, and I know that weekend is there, and you may not be able to answer this.
Yeah.
That's homecoming weekend. right?
Homecoming. Mhm.
There are no other requests for the 22nd, or, this is our last meeting,
But they're
Not-
not for Merrimack. So
We're
They're
not
not
doing
even
that.
Merrimack.
It's kind of
Who,
confusing.
that's
Yeah.
what, like, is it their license? Whose license is this for?
Caterer's license.
It's Max Ultimate Food.
Okay. So
This is
then
very
why are
similar to
these all
Debbie Ingles.
together if they're,
They're different requests. One, so this is what I'll call under a caterer's license. This is a
Right.
separate event. The other events are what you traditionally see in terms of one-day liquor license of various events.
right, but we usually, for Merrimack College, it's under Merrimack College.
Correct.
This
a
event
separate-
is
This is
not.
being separately run for the college by this particular group.
So our
Still-
motion would be different, is my question.
It would be.
This
It would
is not a
probably be.
Merrimack.
It'd probably be
Was that
similar
looking
though
at
to like when Deb Ingles comes for small. So you're the vendor, but Merrimack is contracting with you to run the event.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Similar
correct.
to how.
So you're providing the
It's still the
servers?
So we're Corinthian
Still under
Events,
that?
and we're the event management partner, and Max Ultimate Foods is our caterer, who's providing the
The
liquor
servers.
service.
Okay.
Okay, so you're tip certified and all of that kind of
Yes.
stuff and all of that service through the training.
Correct.
And then any other events would be handled directly through the campus that we're involved in.
That's what I mean. So this is a variation from what we normally see.
It's a variation in this case that they're using a licensed caterer or caterer to run the event, but it's no different in terms of the motion. Merrimack College is still the applicant. It's just in this particular case, they've hired an outside company. It really isn't.
Okay, they're the applicant, but who's responsible?
But who's responsible?
Yeah.
In most cases,
That's
Merrimack
my point.
College is responsible. In this case, again, the caterer, I assume you're providing bartenders?
We
Well,
are.
actually, in most cases, it's Sodexo.
That's my point.
So,
But it's
but
still
we don't,
Merrimack
but we still grant it to Merrimack College, not
Correct.
Sodexo. Sodexo is listed on the license, on the application
Okay.
as the vendor, or the
Merrimack College
caterer.
doesn't provide their own
Okay.
services,
Right.
service for their events. They
So
hire
that's why I asked
companies.
about if they're tip certified, and you
Right.
run events like these, if you had any trouble with anything in the past.
No, no, not at all.
This is a very standard type of event
Yeah.
that we run and operate with a variety of organizations, companies,
Galas, yeah.
and academic institutions.
But this says Sodexo Food Service for the 1021. This doesn't say these folks. No,
I do have a copy of the application that we did submit, so
I'm looking at it.
this was your signature, right?
Right, I don't know who we're doing business with exactly. It says
This is the
Sodexo.
application
We'll sort
on
it
the
out, but it's
21st,
not
yeah.
the way- This isn't our usual
I
practice.
have it right in front of me,
Okay.
thank you. That's not what, you're 6:30 to 10?
So on
Yeah,
the,
I
There's
mean,
a
the-
3 to 8?
so on, there's two 21st events. One is an all alcohol under the gala, that's this group. And the second group is Mactoberfest, which is the college applying again, but using Sodexo, which is their common practice. So Sodexo is, in that case, the caterer, the one providing the liquor service, and the staff that normally does those.
So it's two separate events on the
Yep.
21st,
Yes.
two totally separate events under the same license? How?
Nope,
No.
no, two different licenses, two different votes.
But
So
that's
that-
not what you're asking for in here.
There are 4 different licenses being asked for, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Item 1 is for the gala, that's being produced by these folks.
These guys.
Item 2
Your
is for
nighttime.
October folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's at 4
They
to
just
4 to 8.
reversed in our package, they reversed.
The
Okay,
order.
okay.
See, mine is,
So there should be 4 separate votes.
Okay. Now I get it.
They all end up being,
because it appears
I get
first
it.
on the online one.
Yeah, I get it now.
they all end up being votes for Merrimack College for liquor licenses. The group running the event, meaning the license
Yeah.
and the bartenders, are different in this case. Most often, Mr. Valancourt is
It's-
correct, it's
You
Sodexo.
threw us for a loop, Merrimack, nobody ever comes.
No.
So- No, you made me look.
First.
That's-
Well, yeah. So I'm still concerned they don't have any requests for homecoming. I know that's homecoming weekend, I know they have requests to serve beer under the tent and everything else, but I don't see that in here. So I
So
think we're
is-
maybe getting a short call.
Well, I mean, in that case, that's them. I mean, they certainly know our licensing rules, right?
Unless they go to, we won't worry about it.
No idea.
Order goes in.
But that, I mean, that would be their problem in that case, if they haven't submitted applications in time, and we've communicated to applicants that we want them, as soon as they know.
You communicated to them pretty
You
clearly.
must be very happy you're here tonight.
We're thrilled, whatever we can do to answer your questions.
I'm good with them and these.
Yeah. So
I mean,
I move approval.
Motion approval, all in favor?
aye.
All opposed? None? Congratulations, ladies.
Thank
Have fun.
Thank
Don't
you.
let any clowns in. Don't let-
Too soon? Too soon?
Too soon.
Too soon is right.
Just for the first one, was that for all the events?
21st, yeah, all 4.
That's how they're grouped
You
in
get
our.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Too soon.
Yep.
Yeah, don't show up next time. no.
Bye.
So at this point, we're entering another section of our
Get it now.
licensing hearing.
Yeah,
We have
now
several
I get it.
businesses here this evening to discuss their business and recent violations. So before we,
So we got
Oh,
an each hearing
yeah.
separately?
right,
Yeah.
because they're each separate, a separate case. So do I hear a motion to open a public hearing regarding the first business on the agenda, which is Ralph's Pub located at 39 Main Street?
So moved.
Do
All
we
in
have to-
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. The public hearing is open. Do we have Lieutenant Folds here this evening to discuss the violation on behalf of the town first, right?
Mr. Chairman, just a suggestion. if you could identify a process, so maybe it's NAPD.
So the public
The
hearing
public.
then would, for each of the businesses here this evening, for the violations that they allegedly committed, a representative from the North Andover Police Department, in this case Lieutenant Folds, will come and read the police report as well as the situation so, involving that business. We will then invite any representative of that business to come up and speak to either to present their side of the story as well.
So we should stay here until he's done.
We can still have Lieutenant Folds. That's okay. We're gonna bounce you back and forth a bit.
Then a suggestion would be, although it may not be the case, if there are other folks in the audience who may have commentary associated with that, all within the open public meeting, then closing the hearings, and no votes take place until after the closed hearing.
Right.
You could close them all and take all the votes afterwards, or you could choose to close each hearing individually and take votes after each hearing.
I would
That's,
suggest doing each individually.
Yeah, keep them separate,
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
aren't all
They're all
necessarily the
different.
same, certainly not.
Right.
Yeah.
just clean choices.
You'd be
So,
cool.
thank you. So, Lieutenant,
Thank you.
thank you for coming.
All right, this is a police report I authored back on September 14th. On September 14th of this year, at approximately 9:57 PM, members of the North Andover Police Department entered Rolf's, 39 Main Street, while conducting an underage alcohol enforcement. This was in response to information provided by Merrimack College Police Deputy Chief Dennis Peterson about numerous underage students using fake IDs to enter Rolf's and purchase and consume alcoholic beverages. I informed the bartender when we arrived that the officers would be checking IDs of patrons that had alcohol in their possession and appeared to be younger than 21 years of age. There were approximately 50 patrons present, with 20 to 30 appearing to be younger than 21. Officers identified themselves as police officers and asked to see identification. All of the patrons checked were cooperative. Officers located 3 patrons that produced out-of-state licenses, which, through the officers' training and experience, appeared to be fraudulent. Those 3 students admitted that the IDs, they were confirmed to be Merrimack College students. Those 3 students admitted that the IDs were false. This was confirmed through a check of the RMV, along with Merrimack College Police Officer Jeffrey Hennessy, who was with us. All the IDs were confiscated, placed into evidence. The 3 students were escorted out of Rolf's, and a ride to campus was arranged. The bartender on duty was notified of the violations and his responsibilities as an employee of a licensed establishment and server of alcoholic beverages. I contacted Rolf's owner, Leslie Carlson, to inform her of the violation.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Lieutenant Folds, the next 4 cases after this pertains to a young man coming in and buying alcohol. Why is this case different than the other 4?
This case was different because the other case follows compliance checkpoints that the ABCC has come up with numerous steps that we have to follow. Right, this is similar to a liquor check that our officers do on a regular basis every night. We go into licensed establishments almost every night of the week, mostly Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, observe, make sure there's no one that appears to be underage, make sure the liquor license is on the wall. So this is a different type of alcohol enforcement strategy.
Okay. How many establishments were covered that night? Most of them in town?
We covered 12.
So, I should defer to my colleagues before I speak.
You can speak anytime.
Lieutenant, the 3 individuals in there, it was confirmed their IDs were fake.
Yes.
Would a scanner have detected whether they were fake or not? Or were
Yes.
they-
It depends on the type of scanner, the quality of the scanner. But yes, they would have scanned and it wouldn't have recognized the barcode on the ID.
And you said that you received communication from Merrimack College that
Yes,
that
actually.
this is actually a problem far beyond actually Rolf's, but it's something that we probably as licensing commissioners should be alerting all of our local businesses to perhaps?
Yes, we actually had a meeting, it was probably 2 years ago. We offered out to all the on-premise licensed establishments and off-premise licensed establishments. And we have a scanner at the police department that we can utilize. We demonstrated that. We showed them the difference between fake IDs, real IDs. We scanned them to show the difference. Everyone was invited to come, not everyone took the opportunity, and we understood that people are working. But the scanners are out there, they can be expensive. But as of now, the only acceptable forms of ID are Massachusetts driver's license or ID card, military ID, and passport.
But we do tell our licenses, that's, when they apply, we tell them that. You're at your own risk if you're taking that license. So they are really made aware of that. But we have also said that if you're using the machine and it passes, the board would probably take that into consideration, that you've done, you know, unless they come in with a pacifier in their mouth, then we know, but,
Were all of them tip certified?
All the businesses, the only one I wasn't sure of was Artie's Corner. The others I know have gone through the tip certification process.
Last room certified?
I do not know that.
How many people were working at Wells that evening? How many people were on staff?
I observed 2 people behind the bar and 1 gentleman at the door.
Any other questions for Lieutenant Foltz? I see that the owner, Leslie Carlson, is here from Rolls. If Leslie, if you want to speak to this, now you can come up to the table.
Okay. Sorry, it's awful being here. Thank you. I don't know what more to speak to this, other than it happened. College night is it's a very different bear for us, and it happens one night a week. We do overstaff for that. We have 2 bartenders, 1 person on the front door, 1 person on the back door, because we don't want this. We don't want underage drinking. We don't want fake IDs. Everybody, including the door people, are tip certified. And, you know, to answer your question, everybody for their first tip certification has to go to a class. And then after you've been doing it, you know, for 20 years, well, no, they go to the class, and then they can do the 3-hour recertification online. That's our requirement after you've gone to a class a few times. However, I'm sorry this happened, and I look forward to this being an opportunity for us to make sure it doesn't happen again. I've looked into scanners. We're ready to purchase a scanner. I did, have a couple questions as far as chip versus barcode, and just looking to have those answered. But I want to take the next step, because I don't want to see something like this happen again. I don't want to be part of this. I don't want this problem, and I sure don't want to be back here for this. Sorry.
Of all the 4 of the 5, the last time they had violations were in the 90s or the early 2000s. I don't remember yours specifically, Leslie. I know that.
The board's policy is strictly to not be influenced by violations more than 60 months old.
Oh,
that's traditionally the
more
case.
than.
Yeah.
May I ask, what's the general price for the scanners now? What are they running?
I've heard $4,000. You can get cheaper ones down in the $1,000, $1,200 range, but you get what you pay for.
What was the last one we forced? Who was the last? I believe it was Macaloons.
Yes.
And,
You suggest.
I forced, I'm sorry, yes. We suggested,
Strongly encouraged.
strongly encouraged, and I know that it has been fantastic, worked out great down there. Personally, I would suggest that, I don't know the cost of what Billy bought, but that's the one I would suggest.
Well, the difference between, I'm sorry, I don't mean to
No, I was
interrupt.
just saying that I would assume that the police department is sort of up to date with which ones work the best and reduce the risk of a fake one making it through. But am I wrong?
We know which ones are decent, but as far as us going out and suggesting they buy this one or
Which
that
I
one,
understand.
we can't do that.
But you certainly would know some that are known to be faulty, I would think. Whatever.
Or if there's, if I can say, this is what we have.
I know it's difficult with a
well,
college in town, but I mean, don't they have a passport?
Well, we have had, you know, we do make sure that any college students do have 2 forms of ID, but, you know, that's a potential that they can have their name on their college ID and their, so, you know, and another thing that's different from us than Macaloons is we do need a portable handheld, because it's not like they're coming up, you know what I mean, we're taking in people waiting at the door to get bracelets on and have their IDs checked, so it's not like they're coming up to the bar. We don't want them into our establishment. So we're looking at handhelds. And like I do say, you know, I'm looking at probably, you know, a few of them, you know, and I'm looking at a cost of, well, it doesn't really matter what the cost is as long as it works, right? You know, it's.
To answer your question, though, Suzanne Pellich, the assistant town clerk, did forward. I thought it was forwarded to the entire board. I didn't realize it was only to myself and the chairman. But that Rolf's, though 2 of the businesses before us tonight are listed as having second violations with going all the way back to 1999. This is the first violation listed for Rolf's. Anyways, if that, I mean, obviously they haven't been here in the past 60 months, but just that's.
I have one more question. You say the IDs get checked coming through the door. I think it should be checked at the bar, because they're not the ones selling the alcohol. They haven't got a scanner right at the door.
Well, they don't want them in the door.
You don't know
She said she had bracelets.
So we have, the doorman stops them coming in and checks their ID and checks their second form of ID and then gives them a bracelet. So then they're in the door.
What I'm trying to say is that person who's got them doesn't have the convenience of a machine to tell you whether that's a bona fide license.
Yeah, she'll get a handheld.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so we'd be looking at a portable scanner. So that would be a little different than Macaloons, but, you know.
That often in the cities or places that, you know.
So I have a question for the Nicoles. Some of your officers are trained to spot false IDs.
Yes.
Is that training that's available to like door people at a door that could, you know, I know it's not the definitive, you know, indicator, but if they could easily see an ID that was and spotted that it's fake, then, I mean, that's at least something that could be
I don't
helpful.
know if that training's available to everybody. We actually, I was trained in it through the ABCC. And it's very, very difficult to the naked eye to tell these are fakes. They're doing a really good job with them. And that's, so I don't know, you know, what my accuracy would be if I had to check them visually.
But each one of those students had a fake ID.
Yes.
So a scanner would pick up an out-of-state fake ID as
Yes.
well, right? So it wouldn't, my take on, you know, it's no out-of-state IDs, or they're college kids. We have out-of-state kids. If she has a scanner, then the out-of-state kid can still go to Rolf's, because it's gonna pick it up if it's fake or not, right? You know?
Can I speak to that point?
No.
I think that right now we have the public hearing is open to the witnesses. We can't allow, or can we allow witnesses? I'm sorry, this is.
Yeah.
That's a point of information. We can allow anybody
After.
to weigh in after the hearing is actually closed. Okay.
They can weigh in, but.
While the hearing is open.
Nobody else can
Okay. Mr. Zanakis, if you'd like to, if you'd approach the mic though, so that way the TV can pick up.
If I could possibly just speak to Selectman Watson's comments just a few moments ago.
Approach the mic, please.
Sure. About, you know, first of all, the rule about having out-of-state IDs not acceptable is kind of a silly rule as it is, just because we are close to the border. We do have I have retail businesses, I'm sure you all know, on Salem Street here in North Andover, but there's a lot of New Hampshire IDs that come across that are completely valid. And again, to say that it's on the store or the bar or the restaurant, that it's their own risk, is kind of a foolish law to begin with. I understand that that's the rules of the game, and that's not going to be decided by this board or anytime soon by the legislature. But I think, with the exception of Phil, maybe the other members of the licensing commission don't know exactly how difficult it is to ascertain whether or not an ID is fake or real. About a year ago, we're at the police station. They passed around a stack of IDs to various store owners and bar owners throughout the town, and said, "Okay, guys, check out these IDs. You know, tell us which ones are fake." And as Lieutenant Folds just said, it's very difficult to do, and he questioned his own ability to be able to pick the ones that are fake and not fake. My cousin and I purchased a new POS system, brand new, in January. We paid a significant amount of money for the upgrade to be able to detect fake IDs. The same ID that failed in January, the same exact ID, passed again a few months later. We bought a very sophisticated system, but now the IDs are so good, and the technology and the people who are making these fake IDs, they're doing it so well that they're one step ahead of, or I should just say one step just behind the technology. New technology comes out, and they're beating it. So it poses a real quagmire. I can speak for myself, and I'm sure every other bar and restaurant in North Andover, to say that we don't want to sell alcohol to anyone underage. That's not why we're in business. And, it creates a problem for everybody. That's no brainer. But at the same time, when someone is determined to try to pass one by, to fault a bar or establishment, you have to really, I think, if this board really has to weigh it, there has to be negligence. It has to show that the bar didn't do the proper things. They had extra staff, they have extra people looking, and I know, Mr. Chairman, that you know personally firsthand how difficult it must be to detect a fake ID from the eye without using a scanner.
Like you said, there is a growing, the technology is there to
But that's
just
why
add
we
more
said
to
with
it.
the machine that the board would certainly take, if you're doing all the things we ask you to do. And the person doesn't look particularly young. I was being facetious, obviously, before, but that I think the board would take that into consideration. The kids are smart. I mean, they're smart. As you said, the technology of developing these fake IDs are, but I think that,
And the reality is that that's to say nothing for, the 20-year-old at Merrimack who's friends with a 22-year-old junior that look alike, and so they trade IDs. That's to say nothing for that. So I was.
Just be careful. I guess my main point would be just be careful putting a lot of stock in, a lot of emphasis on the scanners, where the technology is extremely faulty.
My feelings were, so we had this conversation several days ago, Lieutenant Folds and I, because what stuck out to me about this was that not just that there was one, but that there were several kids from Merrimack on college night. And anybody who looked at this would say, Leslie, you had clearly done, I think, your job of not overstaffing, but staffing at an appropriate level to make sure everything was well managed. The concern I had was 3 kids from Merrimack at college night at Rolf's. What better message to send? And this is actually probably for many of our business owners, to even have something that looks like a scanner there, because I think that it would certainly scare away the not as bold kids who still have fake IDs. I mean, I think it protects you, Leslie. I think in this case, anybody who's passing a fake ID after you do your due diligence, it puts our businesses in a tough spot. I agree with you, and that's, these are conversations we've had.
It doesn't stop them at Macklin's, though. They still go into Macklin's with a sign on the door, and they try to pass fake IDs. And
believe it.
to
I believe it.
To Mr. Zanakis' point, I've also seen, and I was there, when a real ID from New York State failed on the machine. And they confiscated it, and they had to wait for the officers to get there to clear it up. So
That's illegal, by the way, to confiscate that.
well, they held it because it's I'm not a police officer. I'm just telling you what I saw, Mr. Zanakis. They held it until the police officers arrived and were able to clear the situation. I don't know if they confiscated it.
Lieutenant Folds, can you speak, so for the 3 individuals that went into this business, and are the reason that Leslie's here in the first place, despite her due diligence, and by the way, thank you, Mr. Zanakis, and for providing your perspective as a fellow business owner. For those individuals with a fake ID, what's the repercussion for them?
Because they were very cooperative, and actually these IDs, when you order them online, they actually come in 2s. So if we confiscate one, we told these kids, they were very cooperative. He says, we bring the second IDs down to us tomorrow, and we'll handle it administratively through the college. And that's what we did with these 3.
So these 3 students, for all we know, there were no repercussions potentially for them.
I'm not sure exactly what it was, what the repercussions are. I know there were some on a student 2 weeks prior that I know he actually suffered some repercussions from the college. They handled it administratively. He was on the weekend away program. Every Friday at a certain time, he had to leave campus. And he wasn't allowed back on campus till the Sunday night at a certain time.
same story.
I guess for me, the frustrating piece is that these three individuals then put a local business owner in this position, put our police department here tonight. I mean, I'm sure, judging from our agenda, you'd have to be here anyways, but a lot of town resources were expended to, protect this business owner from really an injustice with, from these three kids when, they're the ones who put you in this. But I do hope that, that you pursue a scanner, Leslie.
No, we absolutely will. And like I said, nobody wants to be in this position. Nobody wants to serve underage. It's problems for everybody. And I know since I was a kid, it's what they do, and they're getting better when before it wasn't so easy. But we'll do whatever it takes. I hate, like I said, I hate to be here. We take this very seriously, and my employees do too. Nobody wants to be here. Wants to be.
All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed.
So I would move, because that your record has been actually pretty good, I would move that a warning with the understanding that you will be, I don't know, how long does it take to get that equipment in? How long do you think you would need to get that in?
It can be days, as long as that, in what I've looked at, it's.
You would have it in before Thanksgiving. We all know why. It's a big night for, so I would just move for a warning at this time.
Absolutely.
If we can't, it's hard to be sticklers.
Yeah.
We're not often sticklers, which is good. Just some of the motions are important for the record.
Okay, you want me to read it?
Yeah, and I apologize, I know that's sometimes.
That's okay. No, I understand.
Did we find that there was a violation?
Because that's the first step. You have to decide as an action within your motion that there's been a violation. Then after the violation, and you can be contained in the same motion, you then decide what you want to do. There's no presumption there's been a violation until the end of the hearing, the board decides there's been a violation, which is good.
Okay, so I move that the Board of Selectmen, okay, we already did that one, excuse me, I'm jumping around here. Move that the Board of Selectmen find that on September 14, 2016, at Ralph's 39 Main Street, a liquor license violation did occur pursuant to the Town of North Andover Alcohol Beverage and Regulations and 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premise to wait, boy, this is a long one. Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under the age of 21.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Well, my discussion is that I'm having a hard time finding an actual violation against the establishment when there was IDs shown, looked at, presented. What's the violation?
That they were underage. In the bar.
But how other way does the establishment?
Once you get the machine, that should take care of the problem.
Right. So is there a violation? I mean,
Yeah, there
just
There is,
Because they were
I think the
out-of-state
law is
license
clear
plates,
that it's, you
licenses
can't serve
as
alcohol
well.
to someone under 21.
even if they provide you with the fake ID.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just needed clarification.
So apparently they didn't pick up on the fact that the ID was a false ID. And although everybody is tip certified, everybody is trained, it's stressed every night, they missed it.
All right, even unfortunately.
I'd be right there with you, Tracy, if I could.
It's unfortunate.
So that's why we say
Yeah,
that
it's,
so often that if you get the machine, the board would take that into consideration, but.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
next
it's not
time,
fun
if
doing
something
that.
like this happens, there wouldn't be a violation if we have software in place to scan us.
yeah,
That's
as
what
long
you're
as,
saying.
No, that's not necessary.
Still be serving.
it would just take under, it would be taken under
That's what I mean.
consideration.
It's
If it fails, then it's,
I don't know. It's
It's
one thing to
an
ask
good
and one
faith.
thing not to ask.
But ultimately, there is a
Oh,
motion
shoot,
on
yeah.
there is a motion on the table to recognize the violation.
And
That's been
seconded.
seconded.
Okay.
And
And
so the
open for
vote.
discussion. Now I'm done. Sorry. Thanks.
no
I just needed clarification.
Uh, Yeah, so motion made and seconded. All in favor of the motion made by Selectman Smedili, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the board recognized that a violation did occur.
Right,
So,
right.
move that
Okay.
the Board of Selectmen impose a written warning on,
Now we
so,
got it.
yeah, okay, I have to skip
I
around
think
because
we
of the
got
language,
that.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Bad times.
To North Andover Inc., okay, I'm sorry, DBA Rawls, 39 Main Street, for violation of the Town of North Andover Alcoholic Beverages and Regulations, and 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality licensed premises. Read the whole thing again. To wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age. So it's just, this time it's a warning.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Ms. Carlson, thank you for joining us tonight. We hope not to see you ever again.
Move that the Board of Selectmen open the public hearing for the purpose of obtaining information regarding a possible liquor license violation by the Loft Restaurant, my goodness, excuse me, 1140 Osgood Street.
Great. So I actually overlooked something in the prior hearing, I'm realizing, but I should adhere to it right now. So I'm going to read the actual letter that was sent for the violation to Mr. Dietz, who is the owner, Mr. James Dietz, the owner, manager of the Loft Restaurant.
Can I, I'm sorry. There was a motion, for no second, and no vote. The motion was fine. Can we have a second on Ms. Watson's? Sorry, I'm being a little bit, on hearings, I'm a little more.
You can do it. This is our first
No problem.
rodeo with
So
this.
it's not corrective, it's just stuff. So we had a motion. We need a second on Ms. Watson's motion to move into the hearing.
I'll second that.
And then followed by the reading of the letter.
Well, then
Which-
a vote to enter the hearing.
No, but the reading of the letter happens in the public hearing.
I'd
Okay.
put everything
Yes.
of note in the hearing other than the vote.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
We are now in the public hearing. Now, before inviting anyone up, we will read the violation. To Mr. Dietz, dated on September 20th, 2016, the North Andover Licensing Commissioners hereby notifies you and requests you to be present at a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, October 11th, 2016, at 7 p.m. at the School Administration Building, Meeting Room, 566 Main Street, North Andover, Mass., regarding an alleged violation of an alcoholic beverages license issue under Section 12 of Massachusetts General Laws 138 to the Loft Restaurant, James Dietz, manager. This violation relates to the alleged incident described in the attached incident report, which occurred at your establishment on September 14th, 2016, at approximately 8:52 p.m. As stated in the report, the violation is pursuant to 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age. At this hearing, you have the right to have counsel present, may have witnesses testify on your behalf, and will be entitled to question witnesses. As a result of the testimony to be given that night, the action of the commissioners could result in warning, suspension, revocation, or modification of your license. Sincerely, Phil DiCollegiero, Chairman. Lieutenant Folds is here tonight, I assume, to continue representing the North Andover Police Department. And so, Lieutenant Folds, thank you.
Thank you. Following is from a report authored by myself. On September 14th, 2016, the North Andover Police Department Anti-Crime Unit conducted alcohol compliance checks at licensed establishments in North Andover. A 19-year-old male was utilized to enter licensed establishments and attempt to purchase alcoholic beverages. At approximately 8:52 p.m., the 19-year-old male entered the Loft Restaurant located at 1140 Osgood Street, North Andover. The male went to the bar area and ordered a Bud Light bottle. The female bartender did not ask for identification and served the 19-year-old male a Bud Light bottle. The 19-year-old male exited the restaurant, walked directly to the vehicle that Lieutenant Foles and Officer Brush were in. The 19-year-old male informed the officers of what had occurred inside the restaurant. Shortly thereafter, myself and Officer Brush entered the restaurant, spoke with the employee that had sold the alcohol. It was explained that she had just sold alcohol to a person under the age of 21 and reminded of her responsibility as a server of alcohol in an establishment licensed to sell alcohol. She was also given a notice documenting the date and time of the violation, signed by myself, and told to pass the information on to the owner, James Dietz.
Any questions? Is there anybody here this evening from the loft? So we'll invite you forward. If you would please state your name into the microphone.
My name is James Dietz. I'm the owner of the Loft Restaurant, and this is Mike Saul. He's the general manager.
Mr. Dietz, if you'd like to speak to the alleged violation.
Yeah, we let our guard down and didn't do the right thing, and that's basically what happened. All our servers and bartenders are tip certified. We take this very seriously. We actually looked into a scanner, and I'm not sure how the results we came up with, but we actually found a scanner that is an app on your phone that's a free scanner that we've tried on different licenses that worked. I'd like to go down maybe to the police station to see all those fake IDs and see if it actually works and can identify them. But it's on all my manager's phones. It's on my phone. I can take any one of your licenses, scan the barcode, and it tells me if it's a valid license, and it brings up the name of the license. You can see if it matches the name on the front. But we looked into scanners. They are very pricey. They're $2,000-$3,000, and we considered it. And we looked for other alternatives, and that's what we came up with. But I'm not sure, based on the conversation I just heard before, if this is, it's a free app. So.
Was the issue in this case, though, was that the ID wasn't checked at all?
Correct.
So,
Well, the thing that's interesting about that, though, is if it does work, Leslie was talking about a portable scanner. Each one of them can use their phone.
But that has nothing to do with this particular situation.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that.
Yeah, we just have to check the ID.
You gotta ask for it to be relevant.
Yeah.
We haven't had any violations before. I own 2 liquor licenses in town. We let our guard down at the wrong time.
I will just say, I'm sure that many of you have, well, no, maybe you haven't. I am the mother of 3 sons, and I gotta tell you, when we're there taking them out to dinner, we get carded at the Loft and at Joe Fish, as well as a couple other establishments. So, and one of my sons looks pretty young, so I have to say, even with my husband and I sitting there, the kids get carded. We don't, of course, which is kind of disappointing. I really wish it would do that, just to make me feel better, but.
No, I think the situation is exactly as explained. Which is unfortunate that it happened to be this evening, but I think in general.
The department does their compliance, and they did their job, and we just didn't do ours that night.
Right, and you're very responsible
Well, we try to be.
business owners
try to do the right
in
thing.
town, in general.
So, getting back to the scanner thing though, so you're looking into it, but you're
Well,
also
we did.
looking
We
into the app.
We looked into it, and we've downloaded the app on all the managers' phones, and we've been playing with it, and the IDs pop up, and it says valid ID or not. We haven't seen one that says not yet, because we just don't have access to an invalid ID. But maybe that's something I can come down and see you
Absolutely.
and play with.
Because I'd be curious, if it works well, that's
Wouldn't that be great?
Then it's an easy, yeah.
viable option for a lot
Yeah.
of businesses.
So the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
Sure thing.
If everybody's said, I would motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chair, unless you want to do it, because it's a pain in the neck to read these things. Here we go. Let's see. Move that the Board of Selectmen find that on September 14th, 2016, the Loft at 1140 Osgood Street, a liquor license violation did occur pursuant to the Town of North Andover Alcoholic Beverage Regulations 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under the age of 21.
Second.
Any discussion?
My only discussion would be that I think it's important that this particular bartender gets some retraining.
Bartender was, been with me for maybe 15 or 17 years. And she's tip certified every opportunity that her license expires. And she's been talked to. She was very upset by the situation. She was actually in tears about it and apologized to me over and over again and wanted to come here tonight, and I just told her it wasn't necessary.
How long has she been with you? Did you just?
15 to 17 years, I think.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor of recognizing a violation?
Aye.
Move that the
Here.
Board of Selectmen impose a penalty of a written warning on Loft Steak and Chop House LLC, 1140 Osgood Street, for a violation of the Town of North Andover's alcoholic beverage regulations and 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age, with the understanding that you will work with the police department in
Yep.
figuring out a good system, as we did just say to Leslie, of course you pass that along, that's a viable system.
Yep.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
So I just want to mention, Ms. Deetza, I think you received a list of the violations and the penalties, so, and that's for everyone here. So the second offense is 5 to 15 days suspension is one of the recommendations, so just so you're aware of that.
I understand that fully.
And just so everyone's aware of that, so, okay.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next on the agenda, the next item is Orzo Cafe Trattoria of 1077B Osgood Street.
Move that the Board of Selectmen open the public hearing for the purpose of obtaining information regarding a possible liquor license violation by Orzo Cafe Trattoria, 1077B Osgood Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is now open, so I will follow the same steps. So in this instance, a letter was produced again on September 20th, 2016, addressed to Michael A. Rapucci, who is the manager of Orzo Cafe Trattoria, to Mr. Rapucci. The North Andover Licensing Commissioners hereby notify you and request you to be present at a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, October 11th, 2016, at 7 p.m. at the School Administration Building, Meeting Room, 566 Main Street, North Andover, Mass., regarding an alleged violation of an alcoholic beverage is license issue under Section 12 of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 138, to Aglio Inc., Michael A. Rapucci, manager. This violation relates to the alleged incident described in the attached incident report, which occurred at your establishment on September 14th, 2016, at approximately 8:35 p.m. As stated in the report, the violation is pursuant to 204 CMR 2.052, permitting illegality on licensed premises, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age. At this hearing, you have the right to have counsel present, may have witnesses testify on your behalf, and will be entitled to question witnesses. As a result of testimony to be given that night, the action of the commissioners could result in a warning, suspension, revocation, or modification of your license. Sincerely, Phil DiCollegiero, Lieutenant Folds, on behalf of the North Andover Police Department.
What?
Yeah, we moved into the hearing.
Yes. I didn't just have. Yeah, it does feel like deja vu. So I appreciate the patience of the board and the public.
Following is from a report authored by myself. On September 14th, 2016, the North Andover Police Department Anti-Crime Unit conducted alcohol compliance checks at licensed establishments in North Andover. A 19-year-old male was utilized to enter licensed establishments and attempt to purchase alcoholic beverages. At approximately 8:35 p.m., the 19-year-old male entered Orzo's Cafe Trattoria, located at 1085 Osgood Street, North Andover. The male went to the bar area and ordered a Bud Light bottle. The male bartender did not ask for identification and served the 19-year-old male a Bud Light bottle. The 19-year-old male exited the restaurant and walked directly to the vehicle that myself and Officer Brush were in. The 19-year-old male informed us of what had occurred inside the restaurant. Shortly thereafter, myself and Officer Brush entered the restaurant, spoke to the employee that had sold the alcohol. It was explained that he had just sold alcohol to a person under the age of 21 and reminded of his responsibility as a server of alcohol in an establishment licensed to sell alcohol. He was also given notice documenting the date and time of the violation, signed by myself, and told to pass the information to the owner, Michael Rapucci.
Any questions for Lieutenant Foltz?
If any?
None that I'm aware of.
They are here. I see them in the audience. Any additional questions for Lieutenant Foltz before we have representatives from Orzo come and speak on their behalf? Is there anybody from Orzo here this evening? Yep, great.
Good evening. I wasn't there that night, but whatever Lieutenant Foltz said was true. My bartender did let his guard down. He's been with me for 20 years since we've been in town. He's been a bartender for 35 years, and there was no excuse for it. He is tip certified with all my staff. And what Jimmy D says about those apps, my managers both have them downloaded on their phones now to check ID. So we do have that app, and it does work. We've used it in the dining room and at the bar when we had questions about, persons' ages or whatever. And the good thing about it is, like, they ask, what are you taking a picture of my license? Now you have it on your phone, so you could delete it. So once it's done, you press delete, and it's off the phone altogether. So they were a little concerned about that, the patrons.
It's probably new.
Pardon me?
It's probably because it's new.
Yeah, probably. So, there's no excuse for what happened. I talked to the bartender, I talked to my staff, we had a meeting, and to be more diligent about checking IDs and watching what comes in, but it's never happened before, and it happened, and there's no excuse for it, so. And hopefully this app that we're using, and we have used it, so far it works. And matter of fact, Bobby Hillner was in the restaurant, I spoke to him about it, he wants to see the app. So he says, come down to the station, we'll try it out.
Yeah, we'll do the same thing we extended to Mr. Dietz.
Yep.
You just gotta remind them to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
If
they-
you use it, you don't ask for the ID.
I know, we're kind of keep fixating on this when these are violations that have nothing to do with apps or not apps or checking a fake ID because they didn't even ask for IDs.
Right, well, he
So
didn't
I
ask
think
for it, he
losing
was,
track
right.
of what the actual violation.
I don't know, I know all of you people have been in my restaurant before, I don't know, I know if some of you have, I've seen you noticeable, but it's basically a family-style restaurant.
And you don't have
Steady
any
customer,
prior
we don't have,
violations to
no, we
this.
don't, and we don't have any really young kids coming in there, unless they're with their parents.
Not to sound like I go out to dinner all the time, but you have also carded my kids when we've been there.
Oh, I know, they do pretty good, but he had his guard down, he was slow down, he was cleaning the bar, they put the bottle in the bar, he didn't think twice, and once the guy got up and left, he knew right away, and that was the end of that, so, I apologize for it, and hopefully it never happens again.
I move that the Board of Selectmen close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any questions? No? All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed.
I'll do this one if you want. Spread the love.
All set.
Move the Board of Selectmen find that on September 14, 2016, at Orzo Cafe Trattoria, 1077B Osgood Street, a liquor license violation did occur pursuant to the Town of North Andover Alcoholic Beverages Regulations and 204 CMR 2.52, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, Section 138, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? None. Motion passes.
Okay, and I will continue on. Move that the Board of Selectmen impose the penalty of a written warning on Aglio Inc., DBA Orzo Cafe Trattoria, sorry, I messed that up, 1077B Osgood Street for violation of the Town of North Andover Alcoholic Beverages Regulation and 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age.
Second.
Do I hear discussion?
And then I'll just remind you of the next violation, the bylaw is 5 to 15 days suspension of the license.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the motion passes. Mr. Pucci, again, we hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend that we take slightly out of order and take the cork stop next, if that would be acceptable to
So I
you.
believe they can invoke chairman's prerogative to take the cork stop out of order, and we had discussed that actually,
Okay.
so. And so we're going to move out of order on our agenda and take the Cork Stop Inc. of 1593 Osgood Street.
Move that the Board of Selectmen open the public hearing for the purpose of obtaining information regarding a possible liquor license violation by the Cork Stop Inc., 1593 Osgood Street.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Tenfolds?
Do you want to read the letter?
That's true. We will read the same letter. Don, will my letter is loading. Can I grab
Here you go, here you go.
This is what I hate that Tracy was using the technology.
That's right. Where's your
I have
paper?
3 iPads in front of me, neither one that's working. So
And none of them has your stuff?
No. None of them will connect to the internet. That will allow me to open my email with the school's internet. But so this letter was dated as with the prior one, September 20th, 2016, addressed to Sophia Stamos, who is the manager of the Cork Stop Inc. located at 1593 Osgood Street, regarding the possible violation. Mrs. Sophia Stamos, the North Andover Licensing Commissioners hereby notifies you and requests you to be present at a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, October 11th, 2016, at 7 p.m. at the School Administration Building Meeting Room, 556 Main Street, North Andover, Mass., regarding an alleged violation of an alcoholic beverages license issued under Section 12 of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 138, to the Cork Stop Inc., Sophia Stamos, manager. This violation relates to the alleged incident described in the attached incident report, which occurred at your establishment on September 14th, 2016, at approximately 7:26 p.m. As stated in the report, the violation is pursuant to 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on licensed premise, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age. At this hearing, you have a right to have counsel present, may have witnesses testify on your behalf, and will be entitled to question witnesses. As a result of testimony to be given that night, the action of the commissioners could result in warning, suspension, revocation, or modification of your license. Sincerely, Phil DiCollegiero, Chairman. So with the hearing open and Lieutenant Folds here representing North Andover Police Department, I will recognize Lieutenant Folds.
Thank you. The following is from a report authored by myself. On September 14th, 2016, the North Andover Police Department Anti-Crime Unit conducted alcohol compliance checks at licensed establishments in North Andover. A 19-year-old male was utilized to enter licensed establishments and attempt to purchase alcoholic beverages. At approximately 7:26 p.m., the 19-year-old male entered the Cork Stop located at 1593 Osgood Street, North Andover. The male went to the beer cooler and retrieved a 6-pack of Stella Artois beer and walked up to the counter in order to purchase the alcohol. The male at the counter did not ask for identification and sold the alcohol for $9.95. The 19-year-old male exited the store and walked directly to the vehicle that myself and Officer Brush were in. The 19-year-old male informed us of what had occurred inside the store. Shortly thereafter, myself and Officer Brush entered the store, spoke with the employee that had sold the alcohol, Mr. Stamos, who was also an owner of the establishment. It was explained that he had just sold alcohol to a person under the age of 21, and reminded of his responsibility as a licensed seller of alcohol. He was also given a notice documenting the date and time of the violation, signed by me.
Is Ms. Amos or anyone from the Cork Stop here this evening? If you want to step forward to the microphone. And if you could, please identify yourselves.
I'm Sophia Stamos, owner.
And I'm Frank Stamos, manager.
You've heard the testimony.
And the employee who made the big mistake.
Okay. So if you'd like to speak to the alleged violation that occurred that evening.
Actually, Sophia was not present. I was the person on duty. And unfortunately for me, I was the individual that failed to ask for the ID. It was an unusually busy night for us at the Cork Stop on that Wednesday night. I was overwhelmed with the amount of business, which we usually don't have, which isn't typical for us. And due to the pressure, I failed to ask for the ID. I take full responsibility for the action that I took.
It's disappointing in truth. I find it disappointing. But well-established, generally great, you know, just it was a little disappointing tonight. But I'm sorry, I thought it was Mrs. Stamos who
Oh, no,
sold it.
it was me. It was me.
I presume that you are I presume you're tip certified?
Yes, I am tip certified.
Your staff is all tip certified?
In the cork stop, the only people that work is myself and my partner Nick, who is also tip certified. And since the violation occurred, we took the measures of hiring another individual to work with us so that it doesn't become so overwhelming for one person to work the shop. And we actually hired a gentleman by the name of Michael Hellman, who used to be a previous owner of Shawsheen Village Liquors in Andover. So since his wife is opening up a doggy daycare business across the street at 1600 Osgood, we out of conversation, coincidence, he had some spare time, and we hired him to work with us since he's been an experienced individual in the business for many years.
And do you have any of the screening equipment?
So we also, as the other establishments, have an app on our POS system that scans as well. But here, I didn't even check the ID, which is the bigger picture. We also, since then, too, I took a little photo of what the counter looks like now to make sure that if it's myself or Nick or Michael Hellman, we have a signage that's at the POS that requires everybody to present their ID, regardless of how busy it is or what's going on that day, to at least for us to do our due diligence.
How long have you been open?
2 years.
Remember she gave you a lecture about it?
Yes, I clearly remember it. And it actually marked, I think, that was the 2-year anniversary, the day of the violation, that week.
That's too bad.
Unfortunate. Only because, as you've seen, I mean, businesses can be here for decades before they hit a violation.
Correct.
So
that's noted.
I think, I mean, I can speak for myself. I appreciate the steps to encourage customers to have their ID out and ready.
Ready, yes.
One thing that's always made me personally uncomfortable, and not to clarify what may at first appear to be a double standard, is I view restaurants as different from the actual liquor stores because, as you heard from the prior two businesses that had violations, it's somebody walking in and purchasing a drink. In this case, somebody can walk in and purchase with their one purchase a case of 30 cans of beer where they can then go to either see 10, 20 other underage individuals. And so the ripple effect of overlooking an ID in your establishment is far greater. And so it's not often that we have violations. That was something that I pointed out the last time somebody had a violation. I know that appears to be a double standard in one way, but again, somebody going home then with their beer, that's again, a six-pack was being sold, so that's
fully aware of the risk that I impose on our business because of that action.
Any other comments or questions during this public hearing?
Move that the Board of Selectmen close the public hearing.
All in favor of closing the hearing? Aye. Public hearing is closed.
Move that the Board of Selectmen find that on September 14, 2016, at the Cork Stop, Inc., 1593 Osgood Street, a liquor license violation did occur pursuant to the Town of North Andover Alcoholic Beverages Regulation in 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premise, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Move that the Board of
Motion passes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I jumped, sorry. Move that the Board of Selectmen impose the penalty of a written warning on the Cork Stop, Inc., 1593 Osgood Street for violation of the Town of North Andover Alcoholic Beverages Regulation in 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age.
Any discussion?
My only discussion is that I'd like to echo the Chairman DiColigero's that it may seem as though a double standard, but I do think that liquor stores have a higher degree of responsibility to the community. And you've been around 2 years. And the violations get steeper from here.
I'm fully aware at this point, and we'll make sure that we do the right, myself and whoever's with us, to do the right thing.
All in favor?
Aye.
And of course, continue to work with them to make sure the apps do work. We're all set, so I just want to speak.
Motion passes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, but Lieutenant Foltz, the only thing I would think of, if the apps do seem to work, it's almost would be incumbent on maybe the police department working with us to constantly check them to see that they're being updated.
Yeah.
When I think of an app, it just seems it could get sloppy easy. Maybe I'm wrong.
I still think we're focused on this app, and these people didn't even ask for IDs.
Well, our IT experts here said the apps are probably going to be updated more frequently. Yeah.
They're easier.
But you get my point.
So
They're easier to update. You don't have to go out and buy software for the updates. You know, you just update them through the cloud.
I don't want Alex to go in that 12 bag.
App developers are obligated
Right.
to maintain a license. Probably
Just
free.
the distinction between what the last gentleman said, other than I think the prior two gentlemen. He doesn't have a phone app.
Right,
His is built
POS.
into his purchase, point of sale system, which is probably a fairly expensive system.
Oh,
And
okay.
so his was not, I don't want to say just a phone app. He had a system in place.
And in fairness,
He
earlier
was
this
going to
evening, we
buy
heard
them.
from Mr. Zanakis, who described his really elaborate system that
He had the
wasn't
same kind of
consistent.
system.
Wasn't consistent, so there were gaps in that system either way.
I'm
right?
just want to make sure there's a clear distinction between what was being offered by both.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, and I think Selectman Watson made a good
Do
point.
you have a picture of the person who was going in?
Who's going around?
Yeah.
Yes.
May I see that, please?
And with
Not
with that,
It's gonna be part of
the
the
next
public
item on the
record.
agenda, the last this
It'll be
evening,
included
on the docket
with
for
the minutes.
licensing, is we have the Richdale Dairy
Up to you.
Store located at 4 Main Street, that has an alleged violation.
I'm not saying that, I just want you to be aware.
Do I hear a motion to open a public hearing?
It's fine.
Move
It's
to-
acceptable. Yep.
I don't care. I'm sorry, we were discussing something else. Move that the Board of Selectmen open the public hearing for the purpose of obtaining information regarding a possible liquor license violation by Richdale Dairy Store at 4 Main Street.
Do we hear a second?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so as with prior hearings, I will begin this one with a reading of the letter dated September 20th, 2016, to Hasina Alam, manager of the Richdale Dairy Store located at 4 Main Street, regarding their possible violation. Dear Ms. Hasina Alam, the North Andover Licensing Commissioners hereby notify you and request you to be present at a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, October 11th, 2016, at 7 p.m. at the School Administration Building Meeting Room, 566 Main Street, North Andover, Mass., regarding an alleged violation of an alcoholic beverage license under Section 12 of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 138, to Shetu Inc., Hasina Alam, manager. This violation relates to the alleged incident described in the attached incident report, which occurred at your establishment on September 14th, 2016, at approximately 7:40 p.m. As stated in the report, the violation is pursuant to 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age. At this hearing, you have a right to have counsel present, may have witnesses testify on your behalf, and will be entitled to question witnesses. As a result of the testimony to be given that night, the action of the commissioners could result in a warning, suspension, revocation, or modification of your license. Sincerely, Phil DiColigiero, Licensing Chairman. And once again, Lieutenant Folds is here representing the town of North Andover Police Department. Lieutenant Folds.
Thank you. Following is the report authored by myself. On September 14th, 2016, the North Andover Police Department Anti-Crime Unit conducted alcohol compliance checks at licensed establishments in North Andover. A 19-year-old male was utilized to enter licensed establishments and attempt to purchase alcoholic beverages. At approximately 7:40 p.m., the 19-year-old male entered Richdale, Artie's Corner, located at 4 Main Street, North Andover. The male went to the beer cooler, retrieved a six-pack of Bud Light beer, and walked up to the counter in order to purchase the alcohol. The female at the counter did not ask for identification and sold the alcohol for $7.59. The 19-year-old male exited the store, walked directly to the vehicle that myself and Officer Brush were in. The 19-year-old male informed us of what had occurred inside of the store. Shortly thereafter, myself and Officer Brush entered the store, spoke with the employee that had sold the alcohol, who stated that the owner was not present at the time. It was explained that she had just sold alcohol to a person under the age of 21, and reminded of her responsibility as an employee of a licensed seller of alcohol. She was also given a notice documenting the date and time of the violation, signed by myself, and told to pass the information on to the owner, Muhammad Alam.
Is Asina Alam present if you'd like to approach as a witness on behalf of the business? And if you could please state your name and speak to the events of that evening.
Sorry, good evening. I'm not here at the time and my employee working. I told her several times, please, if you come somebody, you see the young, check the ID, check the ID. Unfortunately, she caught a lot of people. I don't know what happened that day. And she took the online classes to certify.
Are you tip certified? No. And you haven't been, and you were supposed to have her tip certified the last time you were in front of us, weren't you?
No, we do have it too.
Is she tip certified?
No, she took the
Okay.
online classes.
Thank
No.
you.
Ms. Alam, you recall that when you were here a year ago.
I knew she wasn't. I
We
asked
had
her.
a discussion. In fact, the business I was referring to when the prior business was before us was when your business was previously before us, and I mentioned that, my personal feelings are that liquor stores, and actually you worded it perfectly, have a greater responsibility to our community because an individual can walk in, purchase alcohol in quantity, and then leave and distribute it to more underage individuals. And when you did come before us previously, it was explained that an effort would be made to make sure everybody was tip certified in their business.
Yeah, I make a plan. I told her to take took certified. He said, yeah, I will. Then she take the online classes, and I make an appointment for her to get certified.
But you do realize that previously when you were before us for a violation. You did not check an individual's ID. And in this case, it's not just that an individual, their ID wasn't checked, but their employee also, just to be clear, your employee is also not tip certified despite us requesting at your prior meeting with us just about a year ago that they would be. Correct?
Yeah. And you were also told that, don't come back with more violations.
I'm sorry. I tried my best. I told her several times, please.
No,
if
but you actually didn't try your best. Because if you did, she would have been tip certified. I've had the conversation with you, her, and your husband.
You actually wouldn't have hired her if she, and with all due respect, Ms.
Sorry.
Deere.
With all due respect, you
haven't tried your
best.
so I'll speak to this. I mean, most establishments do not hire an individual that is required to be tip certified until they are actually tip certified. Well, I would think that if you've already been before us and we've asked that all employees are tip certified, and that's not a law. I'm just that's our request, and so I guess that's the disappointment here this evening. But
Now, do you have a machine that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you?
My problem is that I didn't ask for the ID, so it's all on me. I didn't even ask for the ID.
Is anyone in your employ tip certified?
Right now, me and she working part-time. Me and my husband and she. I don't have any employee.
No. Is anyone tip certified?
Has anyone taken the course for tip certification?
You, your husband, anyone?
Yeah, I did. My sister, she did too.
But your sister doesn't work there?
She working with us long time ago.
Okay, again, you,
Yeah, I do.
your husband, or your employee, are any of you three tip certified? Yes or no? It's a yes or no.
I took certified and my husband, we do both of them.
And you're both currently tip certified?
Yeah, I do have a...
You're
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's what I was...
Yeah, I do have things under my work.
Linda, may I
And
ask-
it's current?
Yeah, it's current. Yeah, I took last year, a couple months ago, I think, 8-9 months ago.
Linda, can I ask
Because
a question? Are you?
now other one
Yes.
is expired, then I took the new one. My other one is expired, then I took the new one again.
Linda, are you tip certified now?
No.
Are you still working for Miss Alam?
Yeah.
When was the last time you worked?
Yesterday.
And this violation occurred on September 20th, and she's still not tip certified?
No, we take an appointment for her. Yeah, I call them and make an appointment because she have to go there.
But she, and in the meantime, she is still working behind the counter?
Yeah.
This happened on September 14th.
Oh, I'm sorry, this sure the letter was sent out on
Yeah,
September 20th.
it's take a time though. It take a get it.
Do I have, are there any more questions for?
Again, I'm still a little bit confused, and I'm sorry. You are currently tip certified?
Yeah, I do. I do have in my wall, and if you want, I can bring that. Yeah, I have in my wall, and there is a certificate. I do have it.
Just you?
No, my husband too. We are both of them.
Has it ever expired before you got renewed?
Yeah, one time. Then I took the new one.
And then you didn't have your employee, and she still isn't. This is troublesome.
How long have you been employed there?
Can I, and I also want to point out something as well. Lieutenant Foltz, can you clarify that the evening of this incident, there were none of the managers were present, only Ms. Steer was in the establishment?
Yes.
So it's kind of irrelevant if you're tip certified and you have something on the wall. If you're not there, you know, you can have 1,000 employees that are tip certified. If the only employee in the establishment is not tip certified, then it doesn't matter.
How often does that happen, that you're alone?
He comes to check on me at some point during the night so that. I can
So
have
every
time off.
shift you work, you're basically alone? Okay.
How many shifts
What are
a
your
week do you-
hours?
Sounds like we asked the same question. What are your
How
hours?
many hours do you work a week?
That actually changes. Sometimes it's 2 to 11, other times it's 6 to 11.
How many days?
It would run over 5. It would run over 5,
So
but it would be.
standard-
So you're nights, too?
Yeah,
she
yes.
working
So you're there when the people would be coming in to purchase alcohol. You're there when individuals are likely, I mean, let's be real, Merrimack kids are in class during the day.
I know.
And we just spoke to a business that was located 4 shops up from you that's dealing with a fake ID issue. I mean, so you can see it's not even, I mean, you're not even asking for the IDs. Never mind the fact that there were these fake ones floating around, despite the fact that you were before us just a year ago. And despite the fact that we asked for tip certification,
That
How long does
part's
it take
not
to get
you,
into a
that's
class?
That's on the owner.
Right.
How long does it take to get into a class?
That's
No, I'm not asking about the internet.
Yeah, you have to go to.
How long does it take to
Right.
get into a class?
3
I
hours.
don't have to go to a class
It-
when I
the
got
class
tip
is
certified.
3 hours?
Unless it's changed in
what's
3
the
or 4
waiting
years.
period to get in? Does anybody know?
Oh, sometimes they has open
I know.
1 month, sometimes
But I-
15 days, sometimes 2 weeks. Depend how they are
It's
busy.
been- And how long have you worked for them?
A year.
And you still haven't got around to it?
So that means you hired Ms. Steer right after, or right before we had you before us, and asked that you have all your employees be tip certified.
I'm not doing any mistake.
But you were before us, and I don't have the calendar dates.
We were pretty strong last time. We were pretty firm last time as to what we expected from you. This is really troubling. And it's, honestly, with all due respect, it's on you, not on her.
I'm sorry, I promise you, if I hire employee, next 1 week, I took the certified first, then I do the employee alone. I promise
Because,
you.
I'll go back. I don't know how more clear we could have been. I don't know if you're not going to do it within days of being before us anyways, and you're going to hire a new person. I would think that you would have. That's the time that you're most alert.
That's
And
a new employee, I'm with her. Whatever people come in, I'm with her 2 weeks. If supervised, then I can be alone. I'm not
But I
doing
think
it.
the issue is that you were before us last year for the exact same type of violation. We told you every employee must be tip certified. She's been with you over a year. You haven't bothered to do it because you disregarded what we told you to do. I personally
No,
have been
I'm
in that
sorry.
store on numerous occasions and have specifically asked you, doing what you need to do. It's very, very disappointing that you're back here. Very disappointing.
Sorry, next time I told you, I'm not doing anymore. I have employee. I took the employees to the fire. Then 2 weeks, they take it. Then I give you.
Do we have questions? Any further questions for either Lieutenant Folds or the two witnesses from Richdale?
Oh, yeah, Halloween too.
Uh,
Second.
Hearing motion, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Public hearing is closed. We'll now move on to determining whether or not a violation did occur. Do I hear a motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen find that on September 14th, 2016, at Richdale Dairy Store, 4 Main Street, a liquor license violation did occur pursuant to Town of North Andover Alcoholic Beverages Regulation and 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age.
Do I hear discussion?
What is the, I don't have, can't find it. What's the second violation? What is it?
5 to 15 day.
Aye, hearing a motion, a second, but no question about the motion, Selectman Smedili? No discussion?
No.
Oh,
Sorry.
all in
I'm
favor?
reading my paper.
Aye.
Sorry.
Aye.
Sorry.
The motion passes and a violation is determined to have occurred by our vote.
15.
Do I hear a motion regarding any penalty for
Well, pick these.
Artie's Corner?
Yeah.
Pick these.
I personally, the severity of it, the length of time between the two, the lack of regard for this commission in the specific direction that was given last year, I personally would move that the Board of Selectmen impose the penalty of a 15-day suspension to occur specific days.
Please, can you please?
The testimony has to end. It's a conversation.
On Shet 2 Inc., DBA Richdale Dairy Store, 4 Main Street, for violation of the Town of North Andover Alcoholic Beverages Regulations in 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age.
If the motion passes, I would need the board to take a second motion specifying the dates.
Of course.
A
But I
motion-
think there'll be
Motion has
discussion.
been made from Selectman Watson. Do I hear a second?
I'll second for the purpose of discussion.
Thank you. A second.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So I'll leave it as I I respect your opinion. I think it's a little harsh. I think
I
15
tend to
days
agree.
is I respect what
Well, I
you,
do,
and.
but I'm trying to make a
and
point.
I understand, and understanding, you really need to understand the severity of, first of all, what we requested last year was totally ignored, and that's very clear to us that it was ignored, so it seems like that you really didn't respect what we asked you to do. But let me finish, testimony's over, so it's our turn now. And I thank you for apologizing, and I understand that, but it's really, it was very disrespectful not to follow the guidelines that we very clearly imposed. We did suspend your license for 1 day last year, and now, here we are again, with a person, who is, again, not tip certified. So, I think the 15 days may be a little on the heavy side. I would compromise and go to 10. 10?
10.
Okay, I was thinking 10, but of certain days.
I'll take a friendly amendment to my motion.
So moved.
Just because it's gonna be a little choppy for us to go through, what I'd suggest if you
Withdraw it.
We got a motion made in second. Why don't we just, you want to take no action on that motion in essence? I'd hate to, amending gets a
Okay.
little tricky for
All
us,
right,
so.
that's fine.
So we have a second.
So motion made and seconded.
Why don't we take a vote on that and then issue a new motion?
Can I vote against my own motion?
You can do anything you'd like. Sure.
So motion made and seconded. All in favor of, unless there's further discussion on that motion, all in favor of the motion made by Selectman Watson? No. All in favor? No. All opposed?
Aye.
Aye. The motion fails.
Move that the Board of Selectmen impose the penalty of a 10-day suspension to occur on specific dates as to be discussed, or do I have to put it in my motion?
You can complete this motion, and if it carries, then the board can introduce dates. We can
dates
have
that
a
we
brief
would
discussion
select.
before you introduce the motion.
I think that's the
On
cleanest
Shet
way.
2 Inc., DBA Richdale Dairy Store, 4 Main Street, for violation of the Town of North Andover Alcoholic Beverages Regulations in 204 CMR 2.052, permitting an illegality on the licensed premises, to wit, Chapter 138, Section 34, sale or delivery of an alcoholic beverage to a person under 21 years of age.
Here's a second. Any discussion? Can I just say, I think that that's an appropriate motion to make. The minimum is a 5-day suspension anyways. I think that, you know, again, that's the minimum, and what we've discovered this evening is that it's a little bit beyond just what we expected based on what documents were provided to us and the prior discussion we had just a year ago. So all in favor of the motion made and seconded before us?
And the lack of meeting those requests and strongly worded requests from last year to fulfill the tip certification.
Yeah. This wasn't simply a repeat. This was an effort was put in to ignore us on many fronts. So all in favor of the motion made and seconded before us? Aye. Motion carries. All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Do I hear a motion to identify the dates that?
How can I assist? Can I assist the board in some? I have my calendar open. Can I assist the board in some way? Any preferences, recommendations?
Well, the bylaw says the license shall serve suspensions on consecutive business days beginning on the third Thursday following the imposition of penalties by the board or such, or I guess we have an hour, or such dates to be determined by the board.
That's certainly, we like policies and like prescribed policies. Again, those are policies generated by this board as a licensing authority, and so.
There is an hour. It
Such
says
dates to be determined.
Right. But in either case, it's a framework. But the dates are allowed in either case, but it's a framework.
We have a suggestion to discuss it for these dates.
So the suggestion would be to begin, that there'd be separate dates?
Is that what we did last year?
We did, we've done
Well, so you're saying not consecutive dates, but separate dates? Like
the dates that are high volume liquor evenings generally, or times, and.
That's right.
There's a little bit of ambiguity. Can I ask for clarification? If I don't know if anyone can speak to it. The bylaw says the licensee shall serve suspensions and consecutive business as a guideline.
It is a policy, not a bylaw.
So
it's a policy set by you to be used by you how you choose to use it.
So there are no commas. So does that? So actually, that's not even restrictive, anyways. It's just
Correct.
a general policy. Okay.
But the policy is broad enough to allow you to specify in a very, if you want to follow in a mechanical, not a criticism, mechanical fashion, but it also allows you to determine the days. It also gives you that latitude as well. It either says begins on the third week after that, or as determined by the licensing authority. So you have the discretion to choose which days you want to suspend the license. To this point, you voted for a 10-day suspension. Now the board must decide which days.
Do I hear a motion for any days?
I guess there's some thoughts being passed around or discussed to use the
Well,
days.
we've done in the past, because they tend to be high volume liquor, which seems to be appropriate. I don't really want to go there, but if you can't handle the quiet days, we certainly worry a little bit more the days that tend to be October 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. I would suggest the day before Thanksgiving Day, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Can you sell liquor on Thanksgiving Day anyway?
Thanksgiving Day is one of the 3 days we can't.
Right. Then
Okay, well then,
Thanksgiving Day, Christmas, and Memorial Day.
so take that one off. Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. I don't know, how many does that get us up to?
Right now I have October 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. Feel free to correct me if I've missed it. November 23rd, December 24th, and December 31st, which would be 7.
So New Year's Day is the 9th.
Christmas, New Year's.
We could probably do this that Friday or Saturday after as well, perhaps.
Friday and
Thanksgiving,
Saturday of
sorry.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, 11/26.
I-
25, 11/25.
I I don't mind throwing a couple in there that wouldn't be as impactful, but I think they have some sends a very strong message.
So we're looking for 3 more days.
Well, then it could be Super Bowl Sunday. If it is a Sunday, isn't it?
I'd have to only guess it.
Well, doesn't New Year's, doesn't New Year's fall on a Saturday or something this year, funny day this year? Saturday?
New Year's?
New Year's Day? I think it's on a Sunday.
Day is a Sunday, that's
So
correct.
do the 2 before it. Friday and Saturday. I
You
don't know.
currently have
Saturday,
Saturday,
and Sunday?
Can't do Saturday.
you currently have Saturday the 31st of December.
23 and 12:30. Those are days that lead up to
And that's 9.
I think Dick had mentioned the Friday after Thanksgiving also.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is
On the
that something-
25th.
25.
Okay. This is what I have noted. October 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. November 23rd and 25th. December 24th. December 30th. December 31st, and sorry, December 23rd.
Before a motion is made, so since we are not picking a consecutive week, or consecutive 10 days, how, can you, Andrew, perhaps Lieutenant Folds, could it, for point of information for us, for the board and the public, how are those enforced? I mean, so do you, on these days, will there be somebody who actually?
Drape 'em, right?
Yeah,
Go.
we actually serve with letters on those dates, it's turn in their liquor license, and then as the next available time, liquor license is.
The drape.
Okay. Okay. Was it? I mean, because I feel like administratively that's a little bit more cumbersome for whoever's supposed to be enforcing it, but no motion's been made. We're simply having a discussion.
Even
right?
though these are very harsh days, in some ways perhaps not being closed all consecutive at least keeps the cash flow somewhat coming in.
We've had that discussion. Do we want to make a motion identifying those days? Do I hear?
just want to write them down and make sure that I have them correct.
Yeah, I think.
You want to?
Oh, I'll make the
I'm
motion.
good for making it, yeah.
So I'll make the motion that license for, let me get the name right, Chateau Inc., DBA Richdale Dairy, be suspended for the following dates, October 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, November 23rd, November 25th, December 23rd, December 24th, December 30th, and December 31st. Total of 10 days.
Do I hear a second? Second. Any discussion?
I just want to say we don't like doing this. This is not comfortable for us. This is not what we like to do, and we hope that, you take this as a real serious situation and comply going forward with the tip certification and the license checks.
I can't say this strongly enough. This was your responsibility and your husband's responsibility, not your employee, especially when you didn't insist that she go get tip certified. We could not have been more clear. And frankly, I think the board gave you a little bit of a break last time.
And you are getting a break today.
Yeah, you could have got 15 days.
And so, I don't know if I actually, it's all blurring together. I don't know if you already said this, but if you are back before us within 60 months, it is 15 to 30 day suspension.
Minimum.
So, in addition to revoking or imposing modifications to your license. So, so I've heard a motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of the dates identified by Selectman Valencourt, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. And we really hope not to see you before us again. Thank you. Do I hear?
One thing, but having said that, she really should not be working alone without that going forward. She can't, you can't just put her on the schedule tomorrow without one of you being there. I'm sorry, say that
I
again.
can just do it at home.
think-
Until she don't take a Sudafed. If Sudafed, you can just do it at
I'm just surprised you still don't have a date, and this happened on the 14th. I'm just shocked. Shocks me.
No, because she leaving, that's why. Her last day, Thursday, that's why I don't make a schedule. And for Sudafed.
So then you just sat before us and told her you were setting her up for a tips class when she's not even gonna be working for you anymore?
No, she has another job. She has a new job. She
Right, so you just literally sat before us and told us that you were getting her tips certified to continue working for you.
No,
We
I-
should have stuck with the 15 days, and now
No,
you're
no,
telling me
I said, no,
she's not
sorry,
even
no,
working.
I said I have
I
a
think
new
that this is-
employee.
This is all right, so I move to close.
That is,
No,
again,
no,
this-
I
this-
say that if I have a new employee come
I
in.
move to close the meeting of the North Andover Licensing Commission.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of closing the
Aye.
licensing, or moving out of licensing? Aye. We moved out of licensing. All.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Unbelievable.
A little bit distracted there. Okay, let's, no old business, no new business, we have no one here for public comment. Somebody forgot to have a jacket or pocketbook or something. Town managers report, Mr. Manager, anything?
Any questions you have on the above, otherwise I will stand by you.
Okay, we've already got the update on the town hall, so we're good with that. No questions from Ask the Manager?
So, Mr. Manager, I had a question. It's about Bradford. It's been exciting. I've seen it, the frame going up. So the point of clarification, I mean, I'm sorry, I let you have your days off, and I didn't bother you on your cell phone. I figured I was going to see you tonight. Right? Look at that. So I was like, I'll ask him tonight. So, yeah, Ray, you just happened to be there when Lori was there today. I wouldn't have spoken to you at all either. But for the construction of buildings, when it's a holiday like, it was Columbus Day, so town offices were closed on Monday. Is there any particular schedule that's imposed that's different than normal for?
There's no restriction on construction.
Okay.
On posted national holidays.
I know.
got
I
the
know.
same.
And Columbus Day really isn't a national holiday.
No, I know it's not. I know it
national
is
holiday.
not a national holiday,
It's
but a
actually
holiday that.
time, start time, 7.
7
No,
a.m.
no. My
7
question
a.m.
more was, so we received
On
just,
Saturdays, 7
a
a.m.,
response,
on
and
Sundays
I said
it
we
needs
because I
approval
know
by
that,
the police
that this
chief.
individual reached out to at least Selectman
Told me
Watson
that
as
100
well,
times.
Yes.
asking about the schedule because
99.
construction had begun that morning on Columbus Day, and again, it's a state holiday, so
It's
that's why I
not a
was
national
asking.
holiday, yes.
Construction had begun by this person's estimate
Yesterday.
at approximately 7 a.m. And so they had asked about, what are the restrictions? How come this is able to happen? And I didn't know the answer. I did not make any claims to know because this is an unusual holiday, the Indigenous People Day.
Indigenous People Day. So,
that's
and
why-
just for the public to
not
know, so
Columbus.
7 a.m., construction is
Italian.
allowed
I appreciate
6
that.
days a week at 7 a.m., unless for some reason there's some
I'm
permitting
sorry, can you
restriction.
repeat that?
Construction is allowed from 7 a.m.,
Uh-huh.
Monday through Saturday, and with the permission of the police chief on Sunday. So if there's some reason they're constructing on Sunday and someone needs some particular tolerance because of a schedule, they can get approval to do that.
So
The significance
this
would
wasn't
be
a
a
complaint
noise
about
ordinance.
Sunday?
No, this would be right. Be a noise complaint. So the police chief can know in advance, someone could say, I'm going to be building on this particular day. And there are occasions where a police chief could say that's acceptable. I'm
No
not saying
notice
what
goes out
happened.
to neighbors in those instances.
Well, I'm just saying that that's allowed. I'm not sure it's common here. I'm just letting you know from an historical perspective, there can be unusual circumstances where a police chief may say, extraordinary circumstance, construction's behind schedule, maybe it's not impacting a residential neighborhood because the construction isn't in a residential neighborhood, because otherwise it would be a noise complaint.
Mm-hmm.
And so the noise complaint would typically go to the PD, and North Andover is not alone in that regard. That's common.
Just again, because of the uniqueness of the type of holiday that Monday
Yep.
was.
But
So.
7 a.m. is allowed.
Thank you.
But I appreciate the question.
Okay. No, I'm glad glad to see that both those projects are moving along. I mean, the feedback from residents, I mean, especially, I'm sure Don hears the most of it at Heavenly Donuts. People go into that coffee shop and that's the first thing they talk about is the progress at Brad Street, so that's good to see. So, yeah.
The mic's still on? A motion adjourned.
Second.